Welcome back to the Institute of Higher Earning podcast. Today we have a special guest. A good friend of mine takes amazing bathroom selfies. A real estate investor out of Fort Worth, Texas, which is kind of like Dallas, but way lower on the spectrum of like where you actually want to live and be from, but it's okay. We don't judge him too much. My good friend John Jackson, we've known each other quite a few years, and I'm actually really excited to have him on the podcast because I don't know much about this guy. I'm not even sure if he's ever done a deal. So we're going to go into it and talk all about all the important stuff in real estate. John, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming.
Which camera am I looking at? That one?
Any you want.
This one's got the real sweet shot.
I didn't even know you
Just
had.
a little cleavage on here.
How many horses do you have?
So it wasn't even my place. I was stealing some shit on this ranch, and the horses were.
I was like, damn, he's a rancher too? Just add it to the list. Anytime people live in Fort Worth, I just assume they have land.
My
that
wife
they
has
just have shit out
my
of
wife
it.
has a horse. She does fox hunting.
And your wife's from Argentina, right?
She's from Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's got a horse. It's a big old draft horse, and she does fox hunting. A lot of people think, oh my God, the poor fox or whatever. They don't suffer long.
Yeah.
You know they outlawed that in England?
Fox hunting?
Yeah, about
No, they
15 years ago. No, they totally did. No, they still do it. But they actually, they passed the law. They outlawed fox hunting to actually kill the fox. They can still chase the fox, but they can't kill the fox.
The thing is, there's
it's really
normally not a
weird.
fox. It's normally either a coyote or they have to drop scent. It's just getting the dogs out, barking and running and stuff. Or is there a 7-second delay on this?
You're allowed to cuss. It's okay.
No,
we do
it's
some
cuss.
editing.
How's it going to
Nothing's live. Anything you want to talk about, we can edit later too. So don't worry about that.
No, because I know you fuckers are going to use everything I say against me.
Oh, for 100%.
Anyway,
100%.
the place where she keeps it, friends of ours, and they've got, 8 or 9 horses and 80 acres. And it gets cold like this, you got to go out and break the ice where the horses can't drink. Break the ice in the troughs. And
Yeah.
so we do that in the morning and the afternoon. So I was out there doing that.
Well, Dallas seems to be getting a freeze like once a year. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on global warming? Is it actually a serious
Global
concern
warming is the
for
biggest
mankind?
scam. Is the biggest scam. There's a great video by the guy who founded the Weather Channel.
I saw that
He
video.
talks about what a big scam it is. At the end of the day, it's about.
Do you know the name of it? Just wondering. I haven't seen it.
I don't know.
I'll look into
At the
it.
end of the day, it's about controlling people. Is all it is.
So what you're saying is, in addition to a real estate investor, mediocre educator, you're also a conspiracy theorist wearing a tinfoil hat.
Do you know who came up with the term conspiracy theorist?
Probably the FBI.
The CIA.
I was going to say
It
probably
came up
one of the
after-
letter agencies.
Discrediting.
It came up. It began after JFK, who the CIA also killed.
Allegedly. It hasn't been verified.
You know.
That reminds me of my favorite joke. What did LBJ do 10 seconds before Kennedy was shot?
Duck. Yeah. My favorite joke is about the horny little mouse going through the forest.
Well, we better tell that one then.
Horny little mouse going through the forest. And he sees Mr. Giraffe there, and he says, "Mr. Giraffe, I'm just a horny little mouse. I gotta get some pussy. Please just let me climb up your leg. You'll never know." She's like, "Get out of here, you pervert." So horny little mouse scampers along. Sees Miss Rhinoceros. Miss Rhinoceros, I'm just a horny little mouse. Please, I just gotta get some pussy. Miss Rhinoceros says, "Get out of here," and kicks him away. Horny little mouse scampers along, sees Miss Elephant. Miss Elephant, I'm just a horny little mouse. Please, I just gotta get some pussy. I can just crawl up your legs. You'll never even know I'm back there. Miss Elephant, big old trunk, looks around. She goes, "Okay." Little mouse scampers up, going to town back there.
Jeez.
Miss Elephant starts walking along, and she's not paying attention where she's going, and she slams right into this big old palm tree, big coconut, so boom with her head. Well, this coconut way up, boom, falls on Miss Elephant's head. And she lets out this big roar. Little mouse goes, "Suffer, bitch, suffer."
I was trying to see where that was going.
I was hoping that wasn't going to take too much longer.
All right, so
So let's get into real estate a little
right.
bit. You're from Fort Worth,
so
right?
I'm from Fort Worth, and people from Fort Worth don't like Dallas.
The feeling is mutual.
I don't know what it is. Dallas, it's the traffic, it's the roads, it's the people. Dallas has a different vibe, different energy. Fort Worth is, for the most part, more laid back, easy going.
How many standard deviations to the left would you say the average IQ is in Fort Worth?
Well, look, I'm not really a college graduate, so I don't know what standard or a deviation is. But
I will say that it feels like 90% of everybody that migrates to DFW just goes to Dallas, right? If you go to Fort Worth, it's very old. It's very stuck in its ways, right? Not a lot of new blood feels like it's there. So I will say that's one thing that is different. When you come here, it's just a fucking mixing pot, right?
people in Fort Worth, when they'll come to Dallas to eat, and they just want to get the hell back.
It's quieter.
It's just it's more laid
See,
back.
I think the food tends to be actually better in Fort Worth. Like more, I think there's more like local, small, fun places, especially if you know where to
Coffee
go.
pots.
Yeah.
Coffee shops are really nice ones.
In Dallas, there's definitely that, but you got to know like where to go. Fort Worth, I feel like it's a lot tougher to get like a bad meal out there. Now, if you go to maybe casual dining, maybe not. I don't know. But so real estate. Talk a little bit about it. How'd you get into this game?
So I got started in 2003.
Beat me by 3 years, man.
By 3 years, is that
Yeah,
right?
3 years, 06.
06. Well, I started in 03, and I was a day trader before that, and wanted to get in real estate. And at the time in 03, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff out there about real estate. You know?
Bigger Pockets, I don't even think was around yet
No,
until 07, 8,
Craigslist
9,
was
something like that.
Bigger
I
Pockets. No
bought my
longer
first deal off of Craigslist.
Did you really?
I did.
Craigslist is still alive. I didn't realize that until I was
Yeah, it's
on
scary
it
now.
late the other night. You know, they still have a man-seeking farm animal.
I was wondering
section.
what section
So,
you were in. Yeah, that's how I met my wife. Men seeking trannies.
Man-seeking trans.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not sure which one's which.
My car wasn't working, so I needed transmission. And
Yeah, that's
Whoops,
when
how did I end
somehow
up
I stumbled
here?
down that rabbit hole.
I nearly choked when I saw the results.
So 03.
What?
03, got into real estate.
Yeah, I got into real estate, and I went headfirst into lease options because it didn't require money, no risk, no rehab, no bullshit.
How'd you discover lease options?
So
Do you have a mentor or?
no, and that's one of the things, you know, everybody should get a mentor. I don't care if you're doing real estate or whatever it is, get a mentor. I read a book called 1 Minute Millionaire by Robert Allen, which is a phenomenal book. It's 2 books in one, and they talk about a little bit of real
Some of
estate
the creative
strategies, but
stuff,
it's not about you know how to make money in real estate, but it's about him and Mark Victor Hansen wrote this. So Mark Victor Hansen is really his part of the book is really about motivation and mindset and stuff. Robert's interjecting with some real estate, some real estate stuff. Other part of the book is a fictional story about a lady, a single mom, struggling financially, and she discovers real estate. She starts implementing the things that they're actually teaching on the other side of the book. So it's really interesting.
That's kind of cool.
So looking up real estate, saw lease options. I'm like, well, I know what an option is because I traded options on the stock market. So that's what intrigued me. And but at the time, they were used to rip people off.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, the idea of a lease option, I love that. But if you structure it properly, you can help a seller, help a buyer, and make money. And that's where Leasing to Buy was born in 03. And so it started from there, had no clue what I was doing. Within a few months, I was just doing it full time and was just doing deal after deal. Started doing stuff for some of the HomeVestor franchisees, offloading their inventory. And that really helped. Then I started targeting the MLS with direct mail. So my living room looked like a mail house, you know.
Well, I think at some point, I think almost every investor that dabbles in direct mail has to try doing it in-house to realize how much they hate it and how much it's worth paying the premium to the mail house that actually sends it out.
Absolutely, man.
Because Tommy and I, we tried that too. It's like, my God, this is a pain in the ass.
I still got a printer and a
We're trying to
paper
get rid of.
folder that I can't get rid of, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah. I used to do it, as I remember, I would address everything by hand. My kids, who were little at the time, would put the stamps on the envelopes.
it's always a family operation.
God knows what feel free to look at something else while I'm talking. What the fuck was that?
Home Depot's calling.
What, you Twitter, did Grindr ding your phone or something?
I'm in
right in
some,
his coin
I'm in
purse,
some
too.
spy puts. I want to make sure I hit my target.
Only I would get that. Anyway, so did direct mail to MLS, and that's where it blew up, because now all these sellers are. At the time, I had no way to filter the data. I literally had to go to realtor.com, print off, whatever, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listings, go to the tax record, cross-reference all this shit, print that off. It was just a mess. But, that's what blew me up.
And you're known pretty well in the space, like as far as anyone that asks anyone about lease options, they're asking someone that's going to refer them to you.
Yeah, I many, many years ago, a good friend of mine, Joe McCall, coined, on a forum, on a thread, he said, John's the king of lease options. And so I just took that name and ran with it. But 'cause that's my niche is lease options. We do other stuff, seller finance and big too, but that's what I'm known for is lease options.
So how'd you make the leap from day trading? Because that's kind of a cool thing. I think at some point a lot of people dabble in that too, or do it professionally, and then figure, maybe it's worth doing that full time, or maybe it's not worth it. How'd you make the leap from day trading to real estate? What was the kind of impetus for that?
Yeah, so I was still trading, and during the day, so I was still trading. As I was getting the real estate business going, I'd print off ads from buy owner, because there's no way to really advertise back then.
Yeah, it was
So I had to get
newspapers
creative.
and shit.
Which, by the way, for both people watching this podcast, creativity will beat recklessly used money anytime. One of the most important things you can have in business and real estate is creativity. And so I had to get creative. And so I'd print off ads from buyowner.com, and I would cold call them. I did that for about 2 weeks, and I was like, this sucks. And that's when I was driving for dollars. Didn't know there was a term for it. I was just, driving around. Saw a house. But anyway, as far as the transition, it was really easy because I was trading. When you day trade,
Yeah, the market closes at 3.
the market closes at 3, but there's also the doldrums.
Yeah.
So you don't want to trade. The doldrums is when the market goes flat.
So basically,
Like lunch.
let's say
Lunchtime.
New York
Yeah.
lunchtime
Yeah.
so Dallas time, it would be more or less 10:30 to 11ish
And then
to
right at
about
the end of close, right?
to about 12:30 Dallas time.
Yeah,
it kind of
so-
wakes up about 1:30 New York time.
Yeah,
I
because
think.
you don't want to trade there because it's too flat.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
If you're day trading. So I would just go out during the day and drive around. And once I did that first deal, which was then within 2 months, for sure, that was $3,500 profit, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but in 03,
It's a
you
little
know,
different back
yeah.
back in 03.
it was like, damn. Then did my next one right after that for about 4,000, I think.
It kind of cascades. Once
Yeah.
you get in a groove, once you get.
Once you do your,
I think
yeah.
for new people, it's always about proving that trading, real estate, whatever. It's all about proving that okay, this system actually works, and then
Proof of
by the way,
concept,
it
yeah.
works for me, and then I can tolerate doing it more than once because sometimes it just sucks. You don't want to do it, like you said. Cold calling, I haven't cold called since 2006.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
I don't cold call.
And then once you have those things kind of lining up, it's like okay, well now I can maybe make this a bit of a business or at least a job, and then kind of figure out where I'm at from there. Too many people, they do the math. Oh, I can make $1 million in the next 12 months if I do X, Y, Z. Well, maybe I don't want to do X, Y, Z. So you got to always constantly reevaluate. But
That's actually where people fail too, right?
Oh, for
Because
sure.
they get into it and they don't realize that it's going to take a lot of
lot of
twos
work.
and threes, right? It's
Right.
going to have to take a lot of singles and doubles, right, to win the game. Not everybody thinks they want to get into real estate and do one deal and retire off it, and that's not fucking.
Well, and another thing,
that's
too-
a dream, right? That's not real.
Another thing too that you kind of alluded to, you didn't say the catch term, the riches are in the niches, but you started off doing lease options, and 2003 to now. Now, obviously, you've done other things. You have the
Yeah.
education product, you have some other stuff, but you're still known as the guy that does lease options. So there's a lot. In fact, you made a Facebook post about it, kind of picking on wholesalers. But there's a lot of people that do get the shiny object. Oh, I want to go try this and try
Yeah.
that and try that. Where's the balancing act between having a
So-
core, you do this, and then okay, I can also add this on as like a complementary thing to my main thing.
Yeah, so the shiny object syndrome comes from a couple different areas, but where it normally comes from the newbie is they think there's an easier, better way. And so
There's no fucking easy button.
there's what's called the emotional cycle of change. I know nobody that follows you reads books, but there's Audible. Go get the 12-week year. Inside that is the emotional cycle of change, and this affects all of us. I don't care what level you play at. Once you start to break a comfort zone, the emotional cycle of change kicks in. And you start off with uninformed optimism. So someone buys my course, right? And they're like, oh my God, I got John's course, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Uninformed optimism. They don't know what they're about to get into.
Right.
Well, then they go through the course and go through the videos, the training, whatever. And they go, oh, you mean I have to talk to sellers? Well, now that, if you're looking at it this way, that curve starts going down. And maybe I don't teach cold calling, but maybe they make some cold calls, send 10 text messages, don't get a deal, which you're not going to. And now they've got informed pessimism. They're like, oh, I didn't know this was going to be work. So normally at that point, when they see somebody else pop up on Facebook, maybe it's land.
Maybe I
it's
can try that. That's way easier than what I'm doing here.
They go, oh, that looks easier. Now they go buy that course. What happens is you go uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, and it goes down to the valley of despair. That valley of despair is what determines whether they're going to move forward and actually be successful with what they got. I don't care if it's land, apartment, self-storage, whatever. That's where it's going to be determined. What happens is people, say buy my course, go through that informed optimism, informed pessimism, down to the valley of despair. Then they see another course. Maybe it's Jack Bosch with land. Maybe it's Ted Thomas with tax liens, whatever. And they buy that. Well, guess what happens? It starts all over again. Ooh, uninformed optimism. And it just starts over and over. So that's one of the things that really causes the shiny object syndrome. Another thing that causes the shiny object syndrome is, as entrepreneurs, we think differently. And the greatest idea we ever had was the idea we just had. Like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever! You know,
Write it down.
and we get so excited about it, right? And the truth is, most of our ideas are distractions. Most of our business ideas are, it could be a good idea, but it's a distraction from what I'm on. So you just got to stay on that path and say, hey, this idea I have, is it a bolt-on to what I have? So I'll give you an example. Last year, I was going to start a software company for real estate using data that we have access to, fitting into Go High Level, blah, 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 do this whole thing. And I was really excited about it because of the recurring income, right? Well, the truth is, as I was getting closer and closer to pull the trigger, there was already a platform out there using that data, and I thought, man, this is a distraction, and I would need about 300 or 400 people to use this platform
Just
to
to
make
break even?
to make it worth my while,
Yeah.
right, on the recurring. And I was like, man, this is going to be, if I pull the trigger on this, this now is my job. So all the real estate info product coaching, that's on the side. And now this is my job, and it's going to take 6, 7, 8 months. Well, it'd probably take a year to get this ramped up to where it would even come close to replacing this. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So it could be a great idea, but is it a distraction or not? Does it take away from this? And does it take away from the time that you have to spend on it?
I think that's important. And one word that I want to kind of touch on really quick is entrepreneur. I think a lot of small business owners, especially in this space, and a lot of spaces, think they're an entrepreneur, when realistically they'd be better being just a small business owner. It's not as sexy, it's not as interesting, but I like to say, even in our business, we're not trying to be revolutionary. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to do anything spectacular. We're trying to do a lot of things a little bit better than all the competition, or most of the competition, and that sets us apart in the marketplace. But wholesaling, not new. Flipping, not new. Wholetailing, we started doing it earlier than a lot of people, but there wasn't really a name for it, but still not new. But we're trying to market better, we're trying to negotiate better, we're trying to buy better, we're trying to sell better by doing these things, but it's still under real estate. Where I notice we get in trouble is every time we pick up, like you said, a distraction. I'm going to go start something like a retail store. That's a horrible idea. I don't know shit about retail. I don't know anything about, I can do math on margins, but I don't know what that actually means to sell a product over and over and over again. Maybe we play in education. And education is a great bolt on a lot of real estate people do that makes a lot of money. And for us, it works well. For you, it works well too. So it actually is a complementary bolt on. But too many people, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, well, maybe you're just a real estate investor that has a business with employees that makes pretty good money. And that's always at odds with the shiny object thing, with the despair thing, because we always think, as you said, thinking even small business ownership mindset wise or entrepreneurial wise, we're always thinking about like, okay, how can we optimize efficiencies? How can we do things better? And it's going to make us look at other things. But like they say, like Sebastian says, the seaweed's always greener, someone else's lake, and unless you're swimming over there, sometimes you don't even know how good you actually have it where you are.
Yeah.
Did you just fucking quote The Little Mermaid?
Off the cuff.
I
man,
had
off
to
the cuff.
think of. I was like, Sebastian, what the fuck, seaweed?
Little Mermaid.
Off the cuff.
So we always
I can
we
do Bible
use,
next. Do you want me to do Bible verses? Or?
Jesus
You
Christ.
wanna
I got a
throw
Bible
in some
verse.
World
I
War
got a
II
Bible
history?
verse for you. I got a Bible verse for you.
Austin
This
3:16.
this hit me hard when I was in rehab. Proverbs 26:11 is, as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool to his folly.
Well, trying something over and over again that doesn't work.
Yep.
It's called insanity, right?
Yep.
Someone said that.
That's the dog returning to the vomit.
So we you talked about your the cycle from 12 weeks. We always talk about in the hero's journey, right? Same type of pattern,
Yeah.
right? So when you get to the bottom, that despair, right? How do you help them, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the pain in the ass, right? Thing you can always leave them to water, but at the end of time,
I think
you're
there's
just ready to fucking
I think
drown them.
there's two questions to that
And
too,
there's
because
so many different things.
I think there's two questions in that. Maybe is one, as an educator, how do you help the people that you're beholden to trying to help a little bit, and then also when you're in that space yourself, because I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
How do you not say, you know what, this is actually a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. It's maybe not as feasible. Like when do you say, okay, this is a bad idea. Let's ditch that and let's actually try something that has a higher probability of success for lower effort.
Well, going back to we're in the Valley of Despair. So I've got a coach that works for me. He's phenomenal. Oh yeah, he pulled it up right there. The emotional cycle of change.
Yeah, we'll put it on the screen.
He coaches my students. I find myself, it's not uncommon for me to do one-on-ones with my student where they're having a struggle. And normally that struggle is in their head. And so they've gotten down to this valley of despair. And it comes down to psychology and what they're telling themselves, the story that they're telling themselves. And we all hit this wall where we've, shit's going wrong, it's not working. I had it happen in 2022 and then again last year. And for me, I had to, I reached out to people that, a great book is Who Not How.
Yeah.
So I had to reach out to other people saying, hey, here's where I've gotten to, here's the wall I've hit, and see what their input is. So I'm part of a phenomenal mastermind. There's 15 of us, and these are all very, very high players in the real estate space, a couple in the info coaching space.
Who'd you have to bribe to get in?
They don't even know I go.
It just shows up.
But to be able to share, hey, here's the shit I'm facing, what and getting their input. There's a saying, when you're so deep in the weeds, you can't see the snakes. See someone flying above to say, hey, here's what's going on. And so we all hit those times at some point. Maybe it's maybe with you all, it's something's happened where there's a bottleneck on the acquisition side, or you can't get them for what you're trying to get them for. And that goes on long enough, and it starts affecting everyone's psyche. But I think you have to go through the valley of despair so that when you're successful, it wasn't luck.
Yeah.
Right? That you had to go through that. So there's a whole story about the emperor moth, which I won't tell on here because it's too long and I got shit to do. But at the end of the day, you've got to go. You've got to fight through that cocoon in order to wipe the moisture off your wings so you can fly. So when I look at in 2022, when I hit a massive bottleneck with the info and coaching space, I hired all the right people, and they almost bankrupt the whole company. Well, I learned a lot from that. And so that this time around, I was very methodical, saying, okay, am I going to go that road, and I'm going to go that road. Brought in the right team that I knew, okay, this is the right answer. But the thing is thank God what I did by bringing those people on didn't work, because if it would have worked, I would have tried to scale it, and I would have been scaling chaos, but not knowing it. Going, look at me, I'm a genius! Wow, we cracked the code, And when it collapsed, it would have been even worse than it was.
That's what we see a lot of the time in the space too, with the shiny object stuff, with people that want to be influencers and real estate investors and educators and just line it up, is they have success in all those a little bit. And then, like you said, they maybe have a little bit too much success where everything is working because it's really easy and we're in an upward trending market. And then, there's a blip in the market, or there's a blip in the education space, or the market dynamics just simply change, and you're not able to stay on top of your actual core business as well as you thought you were, and it can cascade.
Yeah.
So it's really important to, I like to say, stay with your core competencies, make sure what you're doing is added onto that and works in symmetry with that. Otherwise, like you said, you can scale chaos, and scaling chaos is a lot of fun when it all works, but it is absolute
it'll collapse.
pandemonium when it collapses.
Yeah, you got to have that foundation.
Unwinding something is 10 times harder and more damaging, right, to your psyche than trying to build something and failing, right? Like having to fire people, that's fucking miserable. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of people, tell us a little bit about your team. So
it's just three of us. So there was a time back in probably 2010 or 2010 or so, where it was me, business partner, my assistant, and we had, I think, 9 or 10 what we called reps. So I live in Fort Worth. So I was I was just starting in the coaching space, but I was doing just one-on-one basically. So I'm still heavy in real estate. So we would have reps where we would get a house in Dallas. Well, then I had a Dallas rep. And they would go see the house, go meet the seller and all that. So I never met the seller, I talked to the seller because I put the contract together. Never met the seller, never talked to the buyer, never saw the house or anything. And my rep would do it. So at one point we had 9 or 10 reps just in DFW. We were doing so many deals, lease option deals, where I would target a specific zip code with my direct mail, and we'd get boom, lots of houses. And so I had to have a rep for 2 or 3 zip codes because we had so many deals we were cranking out. But now it's just me, my coach, and my sister, who's my assistant. She does all the customer support for the students, and that's it. And
Are you still doing direct mail, or?
So I haven't done direct mail in a long time. What's interesting is this week I'm actually going to do direct mail to Tarrant County, not Dallas County, because I don't want to drive to Dallas County.
That's understandable.
But I'll do it to Derek. So what I do with direct, and we're all over the map here. When we do direct, because we don't have to do direct mail anymore, because we've got a platform that'll just click a button, it'll scrape FSBOs, expireds, and click another button, boom, there's text messages, and now. But when we do direct mail, we target MLS over 30, 60, or 90. And so the response rate is very high. But we do 800 pieces, and we'll get whatever, 2, 3, 4 deals out of that. And we have specific direct mail pieces too. Yeah.
Well, because you're able to offer them a product that they might need but haven't really heard of being on the MLS or even thought about. And we do the same thing in our business where we obviously have a catered exit strategy we think will work well for a specific property. But we're not trying to give the seller all the different potential options because 80% of the options don't make any sense for the seller. So we're really trying to match, on our side anyhow, a seller need with an option for an exit strategy for us that works for everyone. So for you, for example, if you're doing lease options, they don't probably know much about that, but it might be something that actually works really well for them because they have a higher urgency, but also a higher price point that they want for the property.
Yeah, so I say be the real estate doctor. So when we're talking to sellers, I'm not asking about how many bedroom and bath. I don't give a shit. I want to know the story. What's going on? Why are you trying to sell this beautiful home? Have you already moved? How soon do you need to move? Where are you moving to? Which, by the way, side note, one of the things people get so nervous talking about sellers. One of the things you want to do when talking to sellers is build commonality. Find that commonality. we all do it subconsciously, whether we realize it or not. If we're at a party or a gathering, we don't know anybody, and someone comes up and talks to us. As we're talking, we're actually, both people are looking for commonality. So we go, oh, you live in Abilene? Oh, do you know this restaurant, Pyrenees Ranch or whatever? You're trying to find this commonality.
For example, you and I always do bathroom selfies whenever we
do.
see each other.
Yes.
This is the first time we've been in Dallas together for probably almost 8 or 9 months. So we'll have to get a bathroom selfie after this, so
we'll
we'll
get a
have something to
bathroom
remember
selfie.
it by.
Yes.
We'll finish up the podcast in the shitter. It'll be great.
Okay, can you bring these cameras in? Can you?
Tommy's a little
Which
bit
one's
to
most
fit.
mobile?
They're all good.
All right. Yeah, we need some video footage of us in the bathroom.
But
But anyway, so you want to find commonality. But as you're having that conversation with the seller, we're saying, well, based on what you're telling me, we've got a few different programs. Based on what you're telling me, I think our lease purchase program would be best because you're going to get full price, no commission, cash flow, and you'll be cashed out in 10 to 12 months. And I can send you some information about that, what the numbers look like. Or it may be based on what they're telling us and by looking at the property online, hey, we've got a few different programs. We can do a lease purchase. Kind of here's what that might look like. Or I'm looking at your house. I think seller finance would be a great way to go. I can send you some numbers on that. You're going to make double your money. But
It's all through education and,
Yeah.
and building rapport with them. And
so you're writing the prescription, and it's not your job to make them take the prescription. You just give them the prescription, and they may or may not take it. But
no, that's a similar way to how we train our negotiations team on both acquisitions and dispo. Obviously different,
active listen.
for the team, for which side they're on or whatever. But very much same as you. Like, we don't care how many bathrooms it has. We don't care how many bedrooms it has.
Okay.
There's not a single piece of property that I know of anywhere in the U.S. that isn't worth something at some price. Yeah, there might be something somewhere, I don't know. But for $1, I'll buy something and sell it for $5. Probably not worth the effort, but it's worth it for the $1. So same thing, we're not qualifying the property. We don't care when the roof was. We don't care when the bathrooms were redone. We'll verify all that stuff. Now, we don't do lease options, but we do all the other exit strategies basically. Well, we have a couple lease options. But it's very much about, okay, seller, what's your circumstance? What do you need? Tell me about yourself, tell me about the situation, and not as direct as that, but that's how the conversation progresses. Like you said, your brother calls it active listening, where that's how we cater both our negotiation strategy and our offering to the seller to make it so it is beneficial for the seller. And often we'll come up when, in fact, we have one right now. We're doing a sub-2 in Palestine. We were up against someone else that was pitched them a sub-2. And they were just so crap at explaining the situation that they messed up the whole deal. So we come in with the seller side of negotiation, talking about the seller, about the process, about the benefits to them. And because in our estimation, a sub-2 made the most sense. It was a property with not a lot of equity, with still cash flow, and they just wanted out. Well, that's perfect for us for a sub-2. But if you don't explain it right, then the seller, A, is confused, and B, is going to lose trust in your ability to actually perform if you can't even explain it right.
Yeah.
I think as real estate investors, we like to, well, yeah, you came out for the novation talk that I did, but we come out here as real estate investors wanting to show how smart we are and saying, oh, Mr. Seller, have you heard of a novation strategy? Because I think this is the perfect strategy for your house. Let me tell you how smart I am by telling you all the complicated details about how to do this, exactly how to do it. As opposed to, so what am I doing? I'm scaring off the seller. No, I haven't heard of that shit. I don't know anything about that. That sounds scary. Same thing potentially with a lease option or a sub-2. Versus the other way of approaching negotiation strategy is, hey, Mr. Seller, based on your circumstances, I think we have an option that works really well for you. And here's how this option, you told me you want to get XYZ as your objective. And here's how this option is the most in my opinion, the most straightforward path to getting you XYZ. Here's the benefits to this potential option for you. Now we're talking options again. And then here's, and here's some of the drawbacks, because not everything is, there's always some give and take in the situation. But if you're agreeable to these drawbacks on the situation, then this seems like a good option. What do you think? And that's so much more passive, because now we're not adversarial with the seller, but it's also much more on their team and in their court in terms of helping them achieve their objective. The sellers always have an objective that they want. How do we get them to the objective while making sure that we're still profitable and doing things the right way on our side? That's where we bridge the gap.
So with what I do, I never try to, going back to my people talking to sellers, they get nervous talking to sellers because they're focused on the money and not the seller and their problem. If you're at the doctor's office sitting on the little table, And the doctor walks in all nervous, going, "Oh my God, I hope I don't mess this up because I really want that new BMW," you know? Or you're going to go, "Whoa, what the hell?" So I never try to sell them anything. I just say, "Here's what I got, you know. Here's what we do." So I use the analogy of enchiladas and fajitas. So the seller wants enchiladas. In our case, because most of our houses are already for sale by owner, or they're expired listings. So take it for sale by owner. They want enchiladas. So they want rice, beans, beef enchiladas. They put their sign in the yard for sale by owner. They think, "Oh, I'm going to get this. You know, I know what this house is worth. It's going to go in no time." Well, a month goes by, 2 months goes by. They don't have any enchiladas. They're getting hungrier. I simply come along and say, "Hey, Mr. Seller, I know you want enchiladas. That's great. I have fajitas. I got rice, beans, beef fajitas, chicken fajitas." And I tell them, "Now look, you can still try to get enchiladas at the same time. Then I'm bringing fajitas."
Fajitas are fucking good too.
Yeah, they are.
Right?
Now, they may not take the fajitas. That's not my job to make them eat. But a lot of times that seller doesn't eat. Those enchiladas aren't coming for a few more weeks. They'll call them up and go, "Hey, tell me more about those fajitas," right? And so we just explain what we do. We're not here to sell them anything. It's just we're here to help.
Well, that's another good point too. Is long-term follow-up is a phrase that everyone likes to use, but they don't really understand what it means. It means listening to the seller. It means offering them the fajitas, and then listening to them again when they come back. Even a month later, 2 months later. I think our record is we're actually pretty fast on our turnaround time, but we've had deals that take 6 to 9 months to close because we're constantly listening to what they need, constantly helping them out with something that they need help with. And then is there a guaranteed payout at the end of that? Of course not. But if we're doing enough volume of that stuff, then we pick up deals that we wouldn't have picked up otherwise. Everyone loves the one call close. "Oh, Mr. Seller, it turns out you want fajitas. I got fajitas. Man, let's go to a barbecue and have some fajitas. All right, cool. I'll send you the contract. Boom. Just made $30K. I'd love to deal with those deals all day long. But the reality is I think you have to do the long term. You have to do kind of the crappy stuff in order to get to the easy layup deals.
Yeah.
We started this conversation off by you talking about what you market to, right? And it's pretty much you saying, "Hey, I know my avatar really well, and my marketing is directed straight to them," right? So you having the avatar pinned down, it just has such an advantage to it, where a lot of times people want to get into real estate, they don't understand that, right? They just want to go driving for dollars. They don't realize that your avatar, you have to understand who you're dealing with, right? What their pain points are and what their needs are, right? So how you can solve their problems. If you're going into it broadly, you're just gonna fucking get your shit.
Yeah, you got to know your avatar of your seller, so you know, because in marketing, the three things in marketing, specifically direct mail, but the three things in marketing is the list, the message, and the frequency. Well, the list determines the message. Yep. So who's your list? In my case, it's pretty houses, normally above $250,000. So that, boom, there you go. There's my list for sub-owner, listed, or even expired. Then that determines your message, because I'm not going to send
You're not going to send a pre-foreclosure postcard.
Yeah, I'm not going to send a pre-foreclosure postcard to a $2 million home, or
right.
we buy shit boxes to a $2 million home.
Yeah.
And then the frequency is, especially with direct mail, is that frequency. You've got to do it. You got to be consistent. Don't do one mailing and go, "Well, that didn't work." You got to do it every 3 or 4 weeks, every 3 or 4 weeks, every 3 or 4 weeks.
How long do you run a mail campaign before you tweak it or shut it down? Or
I'll change from a trifold brochure to a postcard.
okay.
We've got a street view postcard we use, and we can manipulate the verbiage on it. We have a very powerful trifold brochure that we've used for years, and it's just a beast. It just has worked for years. But we'll make that adjustment. Huh?
The trifold comes mailed?
In the mail.
In an envelope, or just how's that packaged?
It's got like a sticky line on the top. And
Oh, okay,
open
all
it
right.
up like
They
that.
put
Yeah.
2 tabs on it.
Oh,
I used to
that's
do
it.
all that by hand. I used to order them from overnight prints. I would do the whole thing myself, but no.
We all like trying something the hard way to figure out.
Yeah.
Once you hit that pit of despair, it's like, man, I really hate writing addresses on letters. Then maybe we figure out, okay, maybe there is an easier way to do this thing.
That's the never stop, right? Keep going. So make small tweaks and just keep going. Don't change completely. Don't, like you said, don't go shiny object and find something completely different. Just make small tweaks, right? And keep refining your business. So I wouldn't want to. I know you got to get out of here. Yada yada yada. All that bullshit. But I want to know. You said you started to about the new LLCs and stuff like that, right? The new laws and stuff like that. I just want to touch base on it just for a minute, if you don't mind. Can you explain what what came out? And
No, that's why I'm doing a live training
All right.
today with the people that set up all of our LLCs, so they can tell all my
oh,
followers.
they're doing it for
They're
you.
doing.
Okay,
I'll
all
be
right.
on it, but
Okay,
I'll be
all
asking
right, all right.
questions as well because I'm
Perfect.
not the expert on that.
It is crazy because the change that I know of, right, is that they're doing the 1099s and W-2s. They're hitting 1099s hard across everybody. And then also you have to, if you're starting a new LLC, you have to pretty much send in a blood and stool sample.
Yeah, you got to send your driver's license and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, they're gonna have you by the balls. So
Yeah, no, I'm doing it. I don't know the regulations,
yeah.
so I'm bringing on the people that set up all of our LLCs. That's what we're doing. So I'll be asking a lot of questions as well.
Perfect.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you need an LLC, go to buyyourllc.com. Buyyourllc.com. You'll see a website come up. You'll see a video of me. Buyyourllc.com. You get a free 45-minute consultation. Find out which LLC is right for you. Maybe it's a Wyoming one. Maybe it's a Texas. Maybe it's a Delaware. Buyyourllc.com.
Depends on what you're doing with it.
That's my affiliate link. True story.
So where's it going forward? Because in business and entrepreneurship, or whatever we're going to call it, there's always 3 steps forward, step and a half back, and then reevaluate. So you mentioned you're kind of revamping the education side. You're
Yeah, so I
obviously still
started
doing deals.
revamping it last year with
I noticed a big uptick in
with how we approached it. Because before I would just focus specifically on my email list.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another thing is where you've done something for a long time and suddenly it stops working, and you start slinging shit against the wall to see what sticks.
Oh, for sure.
Well, when you get to that,
And that costs a lot of money.
and it costs a lot of money. When you get to that phase, when we're deep in the weeds, we don't realize we're slinging shit against the wall, and people go, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Let me step back. So I brought on a company to help us revamp some things, retool some things, approach it differently, with no agent with no agency. What I mean by that is there's agencies that create, the Facebook ads, the funnels, the low ticket offer, low ticket bump, free book plus shipping, all this bullshit. 5-day challenge, all of that shit. And the only people that there's some good agencies, but at the end of the day, the people that make money with agencies are the agencies. Meanwhile, us educators are out there, bleeding to death. So
The agencies get paid regardless of whether or not.
yeah, they're gonna get paid no matter
That's
what.
my experience with a
Hey,
lot
you owe
of
me,
them.
$8,000 a month or whatever, plus your ad spend. So I'm on a different route, and it's just been phenomenally.
Nice.
It's just been so much better, so much better. And so, I'm excited about it again.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I've noticed that your social media and all that has I've said it to Tommy. I was like, I've noticed that your speeches, not your speeches, but your posts have just changed.
So, until October or November, I never posted about what the fuck. What the?
I think it's okay to cuss.
I never
think it's
posted
okay
about
to
what
cuss.
the. I never posted about.
Yeah,
Remember
do
the
you not remember the elephant?
Suffer. I never posted about what I did. I just, I was on Facebook just to jack with people. But that changed when I brought on this company. And so here's what you're going to do. And they had a whole methodical, game plan laid out. And so I did it. I was like, holy shit, I didn't know people that followed me want to know what I did, And there was a lot of people out there that wanted to start in real estate or were in real estate and wanted to add on what I do or what the case may be.
They're interested at what's behind the curtain, right? They know what you do. They know you do in real estate. They know you do coaching and investing, but they don't know how to approach you on that regard, right? So you kind of have to put them in your funnel for them, right? Like you have to dumb it down for them. Like, hey, this is what I do for a living. I do marketing. Just comment, ping me, something like that, and it goes a long way. But fuck, I hate doing it.
So I had to bring on a lady that I just brought on a setter that'll be inside my Facebook, going to the DMs because I could. I made a post. So using this methodology, I made a post a couple weeks ago. I don't know, and it blew up. 200 comments. People wanting my some of my shit for free that I was giving away. It was a text message.
I
It was a text
commented
message.
on it, and you replied to me,
And it's a very effective text message we sent out. It's simple, but it gets them engaged. I couldn't keep up with it, and then Facebook I couldn't use Messenger. They shut me down.
They shut the
shut
Messenger
my
down
VA.
after a while. Yeah.
And so which told me, okay, hey, this works. Now I got to revamp this. Had to bring on a different software platform to deal with all these people. Brought on a lady who can handle some of this for me. But yeah, it's going great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And our students, oh my God, the success is phenomenal. I've got a guy in Tennessee who was doing subject 2 assignments, which I don't recommend. But he's a sharp guy, ran a very ethical business. Saw me on a podcast with Ron LeGrand, or a webinar with Ron LeGrand, and was like, holy shit, that seems really like what I should be doing. And we got a Zoom call, whatever, showed him what I did, and he took his business model, what he was doing, changed some of the pieces, some of the components, took what I was doing, integrated my system, and within a couple of months had there were 10 or 12 houses under contract. These are nice,
awesome.
$500,000 homes.
Yeah.
And so now here come the applications. Now starting to get ready to close some of these suckers. One of them is I'm going to post about this. One of his deals he's locking up is one of the Houston Texan football players.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah, he lives in Tennessee. But the point is, we've got the success from the students is phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
that's always great too, because it kind of revamps you and it fuels you, right? Like
Oh,
as a mentor and coach, anytime anybody in our REIF just hits us up and says, "Hey, we just locked up this awesome deal," you get fucking excited, right? I had nothing to do with that deal, but I get excited for them.
Oh yeah,
so
it's
awesome.
because I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deals. I don't get excited going, "Oh my God, I closed a deal!" I'm like, no, it's literally it requires no brain cells for me to do that. But to have a student do that, well, now that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
That's what's gratifying about the business too. Because if the system out there, if all those guys, acquisitions, dispo, and leads are all working correctly, and they're cranking out deals, ideally I don't know about a deal. So I only really hear about deals, at least in depth, if there's a problem. If there's title issues we can't clear, if there's heirs that you can't find, or if we close on something, it's like, man, we probably shouldn't have closed on that. Well, now it becomes my problem. So I'm kind of the same way. The deals that go really well, I don't hear shit about them. The ones that don't go well, I hear all about them.
Yeah.
So now I have this negative feedback loop where it's like, man, I freaking hate doing deals. Because every time I go to a deal, there's a problem. But like you were saying, it's so nice to see, like, we know the system works. We do it every day. We're in the weeds. We're fighting the snakes. But it's so nice when we get that positive affirmation from a coaching student or from a client or from a mastermind member or even just a friend that we happen to help and say, hey, I tried what you said. It works. Well, yeah, I know it works. That's why I said it. But it's nice to hear from them like, oh, it works for you too. That's cool. I like that.
I had a buddy from high school, a kid that I went to high school with, played football, all different sports with. Haven't spoken to him in 15 years. And he hit me up out of nowhere, DM'd me on Facebook, and just sent me this long-ass dissertation, and he was just thanking me for one of the podcasts that he sold me. I had no idea. I had to go back and watch it, but apparently what I said resonated with him, and it was just nice. But hearing that from him, it's nice, right? Like, it was another thing. Like, oh shit, I can help people. I can
Yeah.
I can help in other ways, right? Like,
We don't realize we look at ourselves differently the way other people look at us. So I just look at myself as just a regular dude, with a quick sense of humor and beautiful, charming looks.
you got more sayings than anything. That's all I know.
But other people will look at me differently and put us on a pedestal that we don't put ourselves on. And so there was a guy in Florida who was on my webinars, and he's always just praising my name, saying, "Guys, do what John says, do it." And I don't know this guy. And then he had, I don't know if he had texted or emailed, whatever, with some questions, and I helped him. Well, it turns out he had my course. He got a house under contract and told me he got a house under contract. Hey, that's great. And I said, no, go put some signs out there. He's not my student. Mm-hmm. Well, he sent me a picture of the sign he put out there. It was the ugliest sign you've ever seen. I was like, did you make that? And he said something about, I said, you should go to a sign maker. He said something about, I will, after I close this, something about I'm in my car right now. something that was odd. Well, then fast forward just a little bit. We reconnected. He had got another deal under contract because he couldn't turn that first one, but he got another deal on contract. Anyway, turns out he's homeless, living in his car in Florida with his wife. And so the question is, well, how did he get my course? I guess he got Social Security checks, and he used what money he had to buy my course. And so I was like, holy shit. So he's doing all this from his phone. So I bought him a computer and shipped it to Florida.
Nice.
For him. Now he's got a computer. He's got another house under contract, and trying to get that one across the finish line for him, because once he does that. But and there's another gentleman that I saw at a meetup group, and he stopped me and thanked me. He said, "Thank you so much." He said, "Your stuff and your information helped me." He said, "I was, borderline homeless, and it helped me get into real estate, and now he does pretty damn well." Well, we don't know these stories out there.
No.
The people that were affecting, people that were touching, that that we just don't know about. So at the end of the day, that makes it's cool.
Yeah.
And it makes it worthwhile. Not cool like, oh, look at me, I've got a big head, but like, oh wow, something I'm producing has value to someone.
I think it's almost humbling when it comes back to us like that. The same kind of thing. I think it's almost more humbling than it is like, I never get a big head. It's like, oh wow, like it's reaffirming, but again humbling. Like, oh, that's really amazing that something that I just said offhand, or some course that I put out, or something in a podcast or whatever, actually changed the trajectory in someone else's life, where now they can be a little more successful, or maybe wildly successful because of that. Now they still have to do the work and they still have to take the steps, but I think it's one of the most gratifying things about the business.
Yeah.
Because we do one more deal. Ideally, if we're doing enough deals, one more deal is not going to change our life one way or the other. It's going to keep the machine going, maybe. It's going to pay some salaries, but is it going to change our life? Well, I hope not, because then we're probably out of business, because we have to do a lot of deals to stay in business. Yeah. But for someone else that hasn't done a deal, that doesn't have a team, that doesn't have the proven systems, then the one deal can really be life-changing for them. And I think it's part of what we just lose track of in the business. From negotiating with sellers, they might sell 2 houses in a lifetime. So for them, that's really special. For someone just getting in, you've never done your first deal until you've done it. And then the road just opens up in terms of what's potential out there for you. And that's nice. We lose sight of that because we get so in the weeds just doing the business.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And especially today's business being so social media focused, right? It's difficult to stay humble, right? Like when you're sitting there and you're seeing everything around, like, man, when you're using it to market, right? All that stuff, like you have to take a step back and just I wear a goddamn Casio, right? Like you have to force yourself to stay humble, right?
Well, the majority of what you see on social is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a saying is that desperation screams, inspiration whispers. And so a lot of times you see people posting pictures of the fucking car or a watch or a plane or some bullshit. When I say plane, I'm not talking like my friend Bill Allen, who actually has a nice badass plane. There's an exception.
I'm waiting to take a ride with him on that one.
Man, what a sweet ride. But you get the point.
Yeah.
Well, that's desperation. Because of that, it was, to be honest, it was uncomfortable for me to begin this new marketing launch, a new push for the coaching, because now I got to talk about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't think I like that. But
as long as you don't drink your own Kool-Aid,
right?
Because there are people out there that because that's what we don't want to become them, right? Like those that we sit there and we see their marketing, and we see through it, and we're like, this guy's drinking his own fucking Kool-Aid, right? Like he thinks he's as badass as he says he is, but I know I'm not, right? And marketing's just marketing, right? You're a goddamn rancher.
So I'm a rancher,
right?
At 3:30 in the morning. But so when I make posts, I try to. I'm aware of that. I really try to make it about the student, their success, what they're doing. Or Kevin, the gentleman living in his car. It's not about me. I'm the conduit. At the end of the day, I'm the conduit.
Yeah.
It's not about me. I'm just the conduit of information and this knowledge. And if you want it, here you go. I'm just the conduit. but yeah, so at the end of the day, most of what you see on social media is, bullshit. The more someone's flaunting, the more they're hurting. Yeah.
Even if financially they're doing okay, the more they might be hurting internally, because they have these.
I mean, rich guys, blow their heads off.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of guys on social media too that need the validation from the other people to validate who they are as a person because of something psychologically deep down in them.
Yeah, it's. And I know I got to run here. We finally got to talk about something interesting, and I got to fucking go.
Well, we'll have you back on the podcast.
My good friend Brent Phillips has been posting a lot of really good stuff about men and some of the struggles we face internally and stuff. And he made one today, and it made me think about how I think a lot of men live. He was talking about. It was a quote he had about men. Most men live in quiet desperation because they're not fulfilling their lives and their dreams. But I think a lot of men live quietly in desperation because they're always fighting for validation, which could be back to late last year. Through a series of events, I realized, holy shit, I lack self-love and self-worth, and it went back to wanting validation from my dad that I wasn't close with. I was always trying to crack that code of how do I win your love, and it's weird how we carry that even through our adulthood. And you'll see some of that on social media when they're wanting validation, right, from other people, and it's what it's what they crave. I've got 60 seconds, and I got to go.
Well, tell us about about where they can find you, about how they can
you can find
get a hold of you.
I don't go to Instagram a lot. My VA does, but I'm at John Jackson Official. Facebook is Leasing to Buy, I guess.
That works.
I guess
John,
is what I
and
am.
John Jackson on Facebook.
Yeah, and
Someone
John
can hit you up,
Jackson, Facebook,
slide into the DMs.
Leasing to Buy. If you wanted to book a call with me to find out about what I do in real estate, see if it's a fit for what you're doing or want to do, you can go to this website. It's dreampartnercall.com. My students are called my Dream Partners. Dreampartnercall, C-A-L-L, dreampartnercall.com. You can book a call with me, a 30-minute call with me. Let's talk about what you want to do, where you're trying to get to. You can learn about what I do, see if it's a fit.
Well, John, appreciate you being on the podcast. We'll have to pick up where we left off for another one.
I want to have you back, but I also want to have your wife back too, because I want to talk about what you guys are all doing with different medicines and such.
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that,
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out. It's good seeing you.
All right, I'm out of here.
Keep
Peace
crushing,
out.
guys.
Mute this shit.
Guy walks out of the front door, sees a snail on the ground, picks a snail up, throws it. 2 weeks later, walks out of the front door, looks down, sees a snail. Snail looks up and says, "The fuck was that for?"